You are going to drink your coffee and somebody says, be careful because it burns. And you say, yeah, I know it burns. It's a hot drink. What's the problem? The problem is that the person should say, be careful, the coffee is burning. Why the coffee is burning? Because it's this coffee at this moment, and you have to use present continuous. This is one of the problems many people have when distinguishing or trying to distinguish between present simple and present continuous. But don't worry, because we are going to have a look at the difference between them. We are going to learn how to use present simple, how to use present continuous. We're also going to have a look at the gerund and the imperative. So now we are going to go to our PowerPoint presentation, but not before reminding you of, if you like it, if you enjoy it, if you learn a lot, give your likes, show your approval, share your comments and your consultations, and so we will make a great family all together, sharing our experiences with this great channel that tries to make you learn and practice English, and of course to improve your English, right? Well, so let's go to our PowerPoint presentation. Alright, here we are at a PowerPoint presentation where you can see session 1, and we are going to be working with infinitive, the imperative and present tenses. And as you can see, we are here in this beautiful surrounding, this beautiful background of the 5th Avenue in New York, USA, right? Well, as you can see, there have been several images that have appeared here. The first one is an example of imperatives. Park here, don't park here, stop, pass on the left, turn on your lights, exit here, and then this is an example. The second image is an example of present simple, right? I am happy, he's happy, they're happy. This is with the verb to be. With have, I have a car, she has a car, they have cars. And then we have normal verbs: go, run, work. Remember that third person singular ends in S or OS. Go, goes, run, runs, work, works. I go to school, he runs fast, they work hard. Anyway, this is simply an advance, but now we're going to have a look into it next in our next slide. Let's go. Session 1, infinitive, imperative and present, and we are going to have at the infinitive actions or states named or represented by to plus a verb. That means that when you want to show the action of a verb, to know about the action of a verb, the name of the verb is the infinitive, and we make the infinitive in English with to plus the verb. For example, you have some examples here of some normal verbs, right? They have to like, to share, to eat, to go, to speak. People need to share their problems, right? So this is an example of how to use the infinitive with other verb. In this case, need, that goes with an infinitive, right? So need to share. All right, so let's go with the reminder of what the infinitive serves for, right? So it serves for naming our action or a state. Now an image has appeared here to remind us about different types of infinitive, right? So to do, to walk, to be, to run. Well, the infinitive with different verbs, no? Just as a reminder. Very good. Now let's continue with the imperative. What is the imperative? The imperative normally is used to give an order or give a command or suggest or just suggest something. Sometimes also to beg something from somebody, right? So here you have the main uses of the imperative: commands, orders, suggestions, instructions, and requests. But as you can see in brackets, you can read that it's rude, the usage of the imperative, because if you use it directly on somebody, it may be rude. Now, how is the imperative formed? Very easy. You simply take the infinitive, eliminate to, take it out, and then the rest, the remainder, is just the verb without to, and that is the imperative, right? So, for example, instead of saying to share, to eat, to go, to speak, etc., we simply say share, eat, go, speak, be, come. And these are orders or commands that we usually give to anybody else, right? Yeah. I know that maybe you are thinking that this is very similar to present, right? Present tense. Yeah, but the difference is that when you use these verbs as a present simple, you use them with a subject. So you say, I share, we share, they share. But in this case, you don't use any subject. Why not? Because you are addressing directly to the person in front of you, right? The person or the persons in front of you, in order to give them an order, a direct order or a direct command. For example, these are examples of how to use the imperative, right? So share ideas with us, come home with me, don't go alone, don't be egoist. In this case, for example, maybe it depends on the intonation, right? Maybe you use a softer intonation, and in this case it could be like a kind of piece of advice, no? For example, don't go alone, don't be egoist, right? Which is not the same as saying don't go alone, don't be egoist, right? In this case, it's an order. You can see the difference between using intonation in one case or in the other case, right? Just to make it softer or harder, depending on your intention, right? Polite requests or commands. Well, if we want to make the imperative polite, softer, this is very easy. You simply have to use let's. In brackets, you can read let us, because in fact, what we say is let us plus the infinitive without to make the imperative softer. All right, so we're going to have some examples. Let us is the complete form, but we prefer to use it more colloquially with the apostrophe s, right? Let's have a look at different examples. Let's make a reservation. Let's go alone. Let's not be egoist. Let's not eat fat. In this case, you can see the difference between don't be egoist or let's not be egoist, right? Don't be egoist is directly an order or a command, and maybe could be interpreted as something rude. But if you say let's not be egoist, it's more polite, is softer, and then it's better received by the interlocutor, the person you are addressing to, right? Well, let's continue. Well, this is a reminder of how the imperative is, or what the imperative is used for, right? Demand action from the interlocutor. So when you are giving an order, when you are using the imperative with somebody else, you are trying to get something from the person, right? So you are demanding action from your interlocutor or your interlocutors, right? The other person or the other persons that are listening to you, right? Well, one more example here in the image that has just appeared. Please be quiet, which is a request, right? In this case, is softened by the use of please, no? Or get free samples. That's an offer. Now we also use the imperative to make offers. All right, so let's continue. The present simple. Now, what is present simple in English used for? Well, you can see it here, right? It's used to express routines, descriptions of something, and habits. Of course, when you are dealing with routines, with descriptions, and with habits, you are generalizing. For this reason, we use present simple, because present simple is used in English to generalize, right? Let's have a look at some examples. Well, this is a little exercise for you to do, right? So you concentrate on the gap, have a look at the sentence, and have a look at the words in brackets, and try to complete the gaps with the right form of the verb of the words in brackets, right? Keep on thinking, try to solve it, and now I give you the answer immediately. Well, when you see this, because you are having a look at the video, you can simply pause it, think about the possible solution, try to give the solution, and then you click on continue, and then you can check the answer, right? Well, let's go. The answer. Do you work in a bank? Is you work in a bank, right? To ask questions with present simple, you always have to use an auxiliary verb, right? In English, you always need auxiliary verbs to ask questions, except with or except for the modal verbs and the verb to be, right? But with the rest of the verbs, you have to use an auxiliary verb. In the case of present simple, the auxiliary verb is do. All right? So you have to use do, then the subject, and then the verb. For this reason, we are asking the question with do you work in a bank? And then next question is about your brother. Your brother is a third person singular. For this reason, in present simple, when you are dealing with affirmative sentences, you have to use an s with third persons, right? When I say third person, I mean he, she, or it, right? Well, and if we are asking questions, then you have to use, instead of do, you have to use does, and the verb remains in infinitive without to. Exactly the same as if you want to make a negative, right? You have to use do or does if it's a third person singular, right? And then the verb in infinitive without to. Well, do you work in a bank? Does your brother shop here? Negative answer. No, I don't or do not, right? The normal form, the complete form is do not or does not, but we prefer to use it contracted, right? For this reason, we say no, I don't work in a bank. Of course, you can also say no, I do not work in a bank, right? Good. And if the answer is negative in the second example, so no, my brother doesn't shop here. You can also say does not, right? But we prefer doesn't. But we use in doesn't because my brother is he, is a third person singular, right? Well, this is very easy, so I hope you will not have any problem with this, right? So let's continue. Imagine the answer is an affirmative sentence. In this case, we will say, yes, I work in a bank, no problem. You use the subject, then the verb, and that's all. Present simple is very easy, right? The only thing you have to do to deal with present simple in English is to use the subject, the verb, and remember that if it's third person singular, you have to use the s, right? In affirmative, an affirmative sentence. Oh, yes, my brother shops in a supermarket. In this case, we're using an S, right? Third person singular with S. All right, and this is the end of session 1, part 1. Next week, we will work with session 1, part 2, where we will see present continuous and the difference between present continuous and present simple, and also I will give you some practice for home. All right, and now, if you like this channel, sign up. If you have enjoyed yourselves, if you have learned, if you have shared with some other people the contents, sign up and we'll be together as a great family in this channel, and we will share all the different contents that we are dealing with here. Thank you very much for your attention and see you next week. Bye bye.